Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something fascinating, the look of Hungary. Picture this.
Yeah.
You're in Budapest, maybe expecting, a typical Central European vibe, but then you see it. Someone with these really striking, almost Mongolian cheekbones, but maybe blue-gray eyes. Or a girl with brows that seem, well, almost Turkish. A guy with really pale skin and jet black hair.
Hmm.
Maybe even a redhead in a Roma village. Or a little blonde kid chattering away in perfect Hungarian in a town named that sounds Asian. So, okay, let's unpack this. What is going on here? Why do Hungarians look, well, so different sometimes? So diverse.
That's exactly the question we're tackling today. It's a fantastic visual puzzle, and we're going beyond just appearances. We'll get into the language, the genetics, the history empire, conquest, trauma, even pride. It all plays a part. And just to be clear, what we're discussing is based on solid research, population genetics, anthropology, historical studies. We're pulling together what the experts have found.
Great. So, where do we start? I guess the most fundamental thing is realizing Hungarians aren't like their neighbors. They're not Slavs, not Germans, not Latins.
Yeah.
That alone is huge, right?
Absolutely crucial starting point. And the biggest clue is their language, Magyar. It's like a linguistic island. You've got this sea of Indo-European languages, Slavic, Germanic, Romance all around it. But Magyar, it's Uralic, closely related to Finnish and Estonian, believe it or not, and even more distantly to languages way over in Siberia, like Khanty and Mansi. That linguistic fact screams different origin story.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting then. The history bit. These original Magyar tribes, they weren't originally from Central Europe.
No, not at all. They arrived in the Carpathian Basin, basically modern Hungary and surrounding areas around 895 CV. They migrated westward, a long trek from the Ural Mountains region.
Yeah.
And they brought their language, yes, but also a distinct genetic package. They were newcomers.
But they didn't just stay separate, did they? I mean, looking around Hungary today, it feels like a mix.
Definitely not isolated. Hungary became a massive melting pot over the centuries. Just think about its location. You had constant interaction and gene flow with Slavic peoples, Germanic settlers, Turkic groups coming from the east, plus Roma populations, a significant Jewish heritage, and even subtle East Asian inputs we can still trace. All driven by, war, trade, huge empires like the Ottomans and the Habsburgs rolling through, and just continuous migration, layer upon layer.
Right, a genetic mosaic from the get-go, basically.
Yeah.
So how does this complicated history actually, well, show up on people's faces today? Let's start with skin tone. What does that tell us?
Okay, spin tone. Generally, Hungarians fit within the European spectrum, mostly fair to light olive, but a big 2021 dermatological study gave us some hard numbers. It found almost half, 48%, are Fitzpatrick type 2, that's fair skin, burns easily. Then 37% are type 3, light beige, tans a bit. But significantly, 11% were type 3, olive skin.
Oh, okay, so that's already showing some diversity beyond just fair.
Exactly. And another 4% were type V, or darker, medium dark to brown, mostly seen in Roma and mixed groups.
So while, yeah, many look typically white European, there's this clear range from porcelain to olive, and that 15% in the darker range really points to that mixing.
It absolutely does. And here's a fascinating detail. Researchers note that some ethnic Hungarians, particularly in eastern Hungary, can have slight yellow undertones. They link this back to ancient Turkic and Central Asian ancestry, a little echo from the steppes.
Wow. Okay, so skin tells the story. What about eyes? You mentioned those striking blue-gray eyes earlier. Is that common? Because Hungary has super high rates of light eyes for Eastern Europe, right?
It does. It's quite remarkable. Second only to the Baltic states and Nordic countries, which is really saying something for that region.
So not what you might typically expect compared to, say, neighboring Slavic countries.
None at all. A 2019 study looked at this specifically phenotype distribution, found 45% blue or gray eyes, that's huge, then 24% green or hazel, and only 31% brown. In many nearby Slavic groups, brown eyes are much more dominant.
Okay, so what explains the high blue-gray rates then? Where does that come from?
It's a mix of factors, according to geneticists. First, the original Magyar tribes themselves likely carried genes for lighter eyes linked to their Uralic Finno-Ugric roots. Plus, there's deeper ancient northern Eurasian ancestry in the mix.
Okay.
Then you have centuries of interaction. Significant German settlement during the Habsburg Empire brought in more light eyes, and admixture with neighboring Slavs and Balts, many of whom also carry genes for blue or gray eyes.
And does it vary across the country?
Oh, definitely. West Hungary, loads of blue and gray eyes, reflecting more of that Western European influence. Head east, though, towards areas with stronger historical Turkic and Roma connections, and you see hazel and brown eyes become much more common.
Makes sense. Okay, eyes covered. What about hair? Another area with tons of variety, I gather.
Huge variety. That 2020 National Appearance Survey confirmed it. Light to medium brown is most common, about 38%. But then you've got 24% dark brown or black, a surprising 21% blonde. Natural blondes aren't rare, especially up north and west.
And redheads. You mentioned them earlier.
Yep, about 9% auburn or red. More than you might guess, often linked to Celtic or Slavic admixture within the ethnic Hungarian population. It's a wider palette than many neighbors.
But the real curveball, the thing that jumped out at me from the research, was the hair texture in some areas. Straight, thick hair fibers, especially out east.
Yes. In places like Szabolcs and Hajdubihar counties near Romania, researchers see this as a really clear, visible echo of that Asian steppe heritage. It's thought to be a genetic marker passed down from groups like the Huns, the Avars, and the original Magyars themselves. People who swept across Eurasia, their hair texture literally left a mark.
Incredible. So it's not just color, but the actual hair structure tells a story. Okay, let's talk facial structure, the bone structure itself. This seems hard to categorize for Hungarians.
It really is, because again, you see a spectrum. Many Hungarians have features you'd call typically Central European. High cheekbones, angular jaws, balanced noses, but then particularly out east again, you see features hinting at Uralic Turkic or even subtle East Asian influences.
Like what specifically?
Things like wider faces, maybe a flatter nasal bridge compared to the European average, sometimes epicanthic folds that inner eye fold, and perhaps smaller chins.
Right. There's that study from Szeged University in 2017 that tried to put numbers on it, wasn't there?
That's the one, the anthropometric study. They categorized faces as roughly 42% Central European, 28% Eastern Alpine, 17% Turanoid, that term linked to Central Asian features, and 13% mixed.
So, Chernoid explicitly acknowledges that Eastern or Central Asian influence insignificant portion of the population.
Exactly. And this mix is why Hungarians can sometimes throw people off. Depending on the individual and region, they might be mistaken for German, Russian, Turkish. I've even seen comparisons to Koreans mentioned. It reflects that crossroads identity.
Okay, one more physical trait.
Mm-mm.
Height. You wouldn't necessarily peg Hungary as a land of giants, but the stats are quite surprising, aren't they?
They really are. People don't often talk about Hungarian height, but maybe they should. WHO and Eurostat data from 2022 puts the average male height at 179.2 centimeters. That's about 5'10.5".
Which is pretty tall.
It is. And average female height is 165.5 centimeters, around 5'5".
So how does that stack up regionally?
Well, it turns out they're taller on average than Austrians and Poles, and pretty much level with Germans and Czechs. So yeah, surprisingly tall for the region.
And what's fascinating here is moving beyond just height to body composition. There's this idea of a rural warrior legacy.
Yeah, researchers connect certain common builds, like broader shoulders and long limbs in men, slender builds with wider hips in women, back to the nomadic Magyar heritage, that whole horseback culture. It suggests a kind of quiet athleticism built into the gene pool.
You see that play out?
Where?
Sports.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Look at Hungary's Olympic medal tally. For a country its size, it consistently punches way above its weight, especially in things like water polo, fencing, kayaking. That physical legacy seems real.
Okay, this brings us to a really sensitive point, though. All this diversity, these echoes of different origins. How does that sit with national identity in Hungary today?
Ah, yes. It's complex. There's definitely a tension. On one hand, you have the unique Magyar language, clearly linking them to the Uralic world, setting them apart in Europe. But on the other hand, most Hungarians today see themselves as fully European, culturally, politically, visually. They identify with Western Europe, Christian traditions, Enlightenment values.
But the science, the genetics we talked about, tells a slightly different story, doesn't it? That 2020 study confirming the unique genetic line.
Exactly. That genome-wide SNP analysis showed Hungarians blending Central European, Balkan, and those residual Uralic Siberian bits. The genes confirm a distinct Eastern layer, scientifically speaking.
How does that confirmation land in Hungary itself?
It fuels a real debate. Some nationalist voices strongly reject any notion of Asian blood, feeling it somehow undermines their European identity. But others embrace it. They see it as proof of ancient strength, nomadic prestige, a unique heritage. It becomes part of a different national story.
And this isn't just academic debate, right? It affects real life.
Oh, absolutely. It spills into discussions about language policy, what's taught in schools, even attitudes towards immigration. It's deeply ironic, isn't it? A nation founded by migrants arguing about belonging based on, well, looking the same when their whole history is about mixing.
It really highlights that mystery in the mirror aspect. A Hungarian face doesn't give you one simple answer. Like you said, someone in Sopron might look German, Szeged, maybe Turkish, Debrecen, possibly Russian or Mongolian influenced, then a Roma kid with green eyes and red hair in Miskolc.
Right, it's ambiguity. And maybe that ambiguity is the most Hungarian thing of all. It fits a nation that's always been caught between East and West, straddling different worlds.
So to look, Hungarian isn't one thing. It's carrying all that history in your features.
Beautifully put. It's carrying the past in your profile, maybe the Huns in the cheekbones, the Austrians in the eyes, the Ottomans in the skin tone, Roma curls, Jewish jawlines, Siberian skull shapes. It's all potentially there. Hungary is like a living museum of genetic layers. Each face is a unique exhibit.
So wrapping this deep dive up, we asked why Hungarians look so different. What's the core takeaway for you, our listener?
The takeaway is because they are different. Not fully Eastern, not fully Western, not quite Slavic, not German, not Mediterranean like their neighbors often are. They are Magyar, a unique fusion forged right at the crossroads of Europe.
A people whose look reflects everything from the vast Eurasian steppe winds to the refined Viennese courts. Shaped by the Danube, the Tisa, but also the distant Urals. Shaped by poetry, pain, migration, revolution. It's not confusion you see in their faces, it's fusion.
So the next time you meet someone who tells you they're Hungarian, maybe don't try to guess their background just by looking. Instead, just listen. Because in their voice, carrying that unique Magyar language, is a legacy unlike almost any other in Europe. A voice from the steppe that found its home in the heart of the continent. A story written not just in genes, but in sheer survival and adaptation.